if you follow GOCC, this is a cut to you, man. This right here shows you that the name is Yahweh. He is. Now, back to a point that I had made earlier about the Yiddish, right, not being Hebrew. Now, when you look into the term Yiddish comes from the people who call themselves the Jews today. So these would be the so-called Jews, or biblically they would be known as the Edomites, right? In 740 AD, they actually had converted, or they had created a new religion known as Judaism, which was based off of the heritage of us Israelites, right? Now, they did this because up until 740 AD, they were big-time pagans, and they were surrounded by the Holy Roman Empire, which was a Christian nation, a Catholic nation, or I guess you could call it Christian nation, and then they were also surrounded by the Muslim nations, which practice Islam. Now, these Ashkenazi, they didn't want to be taken over, right? So what they did is the king of the time, his name was Kagan Bulan. Kagan just means king, so King Bulan basically had asked his advisors and finally made a decision that they would create their own religion based off of the heritage of the by then lost Jews, or the lost tribes of Israel, right? And then it wasn't until hundreds of centuries later, until about the 1800s, when they actually started to claim that they were the legit biblical Israelites, which they are not, right? That's why there's so much history. And one of the historic proof that they aren't the Israelites is their language that they speak, again, which is Yiddish. So let's go ahead and first read in their own words from the Torah Institute what Yiddish is. It says, Yiddish, the language of the Ashkenazic Jews, a hybrid of Hebrew and medieval German. It takes about 3/4 of its vocabulary from German, a grammatical structure all its own. It's written in an alphabet based on Hebrew characters. Scholars and universities classify it as a Germanic language. Now, the Torah Institute came out with this regarding one of the biggest mistakes in the Yiddish language is that they translate the W, or this, I guess you would call it a Y-shaped character, they translate this as a U, where in the original Paleo-Hebrew, this was actually the W sound, wa, right? Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the surrounding nations of the time of the Semitic language, which were known as Semitic languages, right? Right. You got the sounds for the W and the sounds for the U. Now, us Hebrews, we had a character for the W sound, which was this character here. We had no sound for U because we did not use the letter U. The Phoenicians, or the true Africans, right? The Hamites, again, they had a character for W, which was the same looking character. It looked like a U. But they didn't have any, or Y, excuse me, but they didn't have any character for U. Now, the Babylonians, who spoke 𝐤𝐤𝐄, this was their symbol for W, and this was the symbol for U. They were the only nation around that time that actually had a character for U. They were the only ones that used that letter or that sound. The Syriac, which would be kind of like the people who, like the Armenians, would come from like later on the Turkish, or like the older Arab nations, right? This would be, or the Aram, this would be their language, right? Now, again, they had a character for W, but no character for U. Arabic, the children of Ishmael, same thing. They had a character for W, but nothing for U. And the South Arabians, who again is just Ishmael, they had their own W character, but no character for U. So now you got to ask yourself, when these so-called Jews converted in 740 AD, they had to hide their own language in our Hebrew alphabet, they started to make their own sounds and assign our characters to it, right? And what they were used to was the Greek language. So let's go and read what the Torah Institute has written about this. It says, the Hebrew letter, which, let's go and take a look. What is that? It's called 𝐉𝐄𝐅𐤔�. So it tells you the Hebrew character 𝐉𝐄, written as a character similar to the shape Y, became the Greek epsilon. Our letter U, the Latin inherited the epsilon shaped Y and dropped the lower stem, right? So they got rid of this little bottom part here, the lower stem, so that the letters appeared as a V. So gladius is actually pronounced gladius, or glavius is actually pronounced gladius. So do you understand that? So they took the Y and they covered up this part down here, so they were left with just the top part of the Y, and then they started pronouncing it as U, right? And if you look at some of the more familiar translations, in English, the word for spirit, in Arabic, you would say Raha. In Hebrew, it would be Rawah, but in Yiddish, it's Ruah, right? They use the U. So again, just like when you get the Most High's name, the proper translation for the Most High's name would be Yah-Ha-Wah.